Hi everyone, and welcome back to Liz Sews and my January sewing makes video. I didn't quite get to all of the projects that I had planned this month. There was one that I didn't get to. I started cutting it out, but then I got distracted by some other pretty laces. So I will try to get to that one in February, but at least I can show you everything that I did get to this month because I do have a lot of very pretty pieces that I'm excited about. So the first piece I have to show you, I actually made it for New Year's Eve, and because, you know, the pandemic and everything, this year looks quite different than normal. Obviously, we were staying in. Honestly, we stay in almost every year anyway. I'm not very much of a partier person. I'm very much a homebody introvert. So I just thought it would be fun to do a nice, sparkly, fun New Year's Eve lingerie set. So the first thing that I did is this bustier here. This lace was purchased from AliExpress, and I'll link it down in the description box below as always. I had to buy 3 meters of it, so I have quite a lot of it. I definitely have a lot left over so that I could do more projects with this in the future, and I have one idea about how I could use this lace in an additional project. But I thought it was good for New Year's just because it has all of these nice sparkly, shiny, fun things on it, a little bit glitzy. And then I really loved the idea of doing external boning channels. So I had seen a bra made by Holly at the Twisted Poppy. I'll pop up a picture of it somewhere over here. And she did this for her Christmas project. And I just really loved the idea of external boning channels, and I sort of wanted to take that and put my own spin on it. So for this one, the wire channel, the boning, the channel that the underwire goes into is on the outside, as well as the 5 channels for putting in, I think this just has zip ties. I like zip ties for things like this, which I plan on washing just because I do have a fair amount of spiral steel boning that I was using in bodices, but spiral steel boning, I'm just worried about its exposure to water and rusting over time. So things like bras where I expect to be washing them a little bit more frequently, I go ahead and use plastic boning in those. So this is a modification of the Black Beauty bra pattern. I worked on this last year for my blue flower set, and also I had a red lace one that I've done in this. I quite like it. I did make some mistakes on this in that I forgot that I needed to, that when I made these cups, I raised the center front neckline to make them strapless, and I just used my regular long line pattern for this, and so I should have recut a new pattern for the frame, but I didn't. So then I ended up having to sort of like scooch things into it. So there's a little bit of bagging at the bottom, but I'm okay with that. So all of those are on the outside. So then when you look at it from the inside, it actually looks quite clean on the inside. So when I was sewing the cups into the frame, I sewed it so that my seam allowance was on the outside, so that all gets covered by the channeling, and so the inside ends up being rather like smooth and nice against the skin. So that's something maybe if you find underwire channeling to be a little bit sensitive against your skin, maybe try putting it onto the outside instead of the inside, because it seems to have worked really well. I don't really notice any different in fit or anything like that. So yeah, so just a strapless bra. I did extend the boning all the way down into the bottom band elastic, just because I find that's a little bit more comfortable than stopping the boning at the top of the elastic. And on this one, I overlaid the lace on top of the elastic on the bottom just because I wanted to sort of keep that detail of the scalloped edge. So really, really happy how this turned out. It definitely gives me, you can see when it's worn, everything sort of like stretches out and looks really nice. But definitely gave me that like gold and black, definite New Year's vibes that I was going for. And then to go with this set, I actually self-drafted just a thong to go along with it. I don't really wear thongs all that often or ever, but for some reason I just felt like the bustier was so full coverage that it'd be nice to have a thong on the bottom. So I self-drafted this. I started with my basic block underwear pattern that I always use based off of my measurements, and then just sort of like modified the back coverage a little bit. There's not really a tutorial for it. I mean, it's literally just drawing in style lines where you think that they should be. And wearing this, it's okay. I used I used my basic block, as I had said, which is made for stretch fabrics, and this lace is really a non-stretch lace. So this one's a little tight. It does like cut in just slightly on my hips, which I don't love, but I've since made another version of this pattern with all stretchy materials, and it fits a lot better. So I would say that the problem is the materials I've used and not necessarily the way I went about making the pattern. But I just thought it was a nice, fun one, and it was really, really easy make to put together, and I think it looks pretty good with the bustier. So yeah, this was my New Year's Eve outfit that I wore in bed watching movies on Netflix. So you know that my theme for the month of January was trying to stick with some like icy blues sort of colors. Really apropos, as today it is snowing. It's been snowing all morning. It's absolutely freezing up here because I have to turn off the heat when I start filming, or else you guys can hear it. But yeah, it's freezing today, so the icy blue definitely fit. It was a month of gray skies and dreary days as far as I'm concerned. So the first icy blue number that I have to show you is with fabric that came from Beware. So Beware actually sent me some of this fabric, but I purchased a kit as well, and I ended up using the kit just because I wanted to have all the white findings to go with it. So for the kit, I've just done a straight Black Beauty bra. There's no modifications to it other than the fact that I've used foam. Black Beauty does have directions for using foam in it. I cut the upper cut piece with an extra 1/2 inch seam allowance along the neckline, and that allows me to sew the fabric to the foam and then flip it up and then back around to the front of the cup. And that way you get a really nice clean finish on a foam like this, and that's if you're doing something that doesn't have scallops like lace. If I have lace, I'll just do the lace free floating on the top and then the foam on the inside, and I'll just cover the top of foam with fold over elastic. So for this one, just adding an extra 1/2 inch to the neckline edge gives you enough fabric to seam it on and then come back up and around and over. I did also cover my seam lines with some twill tape. I've been doing that a lot lately, and I do think it gives a nice finish on the inside. I never really had a problem with the zigzag butting up of the two foam pieces, but I think this one, just when you cover it with seam tape, it just adds a little extra bit of elegance to it. So it's not really serving a functional purpose. I just think it looks a little bit nicer. So it is a stretch satin, so I was able to use it on the back band as well, just because it had a similar amount of stretch as the power mesh material that I'm using behind it. It does have two-way stretch, so I had to make sure that the stretch was going around the body. And then for the front portion of the bra, all of that is, well, the cups are lined in foam, but then all of the frame and cradle are lined in a sheer non-stretch cup lining. To give you my support and stabilization. The power bar I didn't line at all. A lot of times I do run into issues with the power bar and this pattern cutting in on me, and so I just make sure that they're really, really stretchy, and then it's less of a concern, right? Because then it can sort of like move out and it doesn't cut in as much, especially if it has some stretch to the fabric like that. And then I added just this cute, sweet little bow in the center because I think it went with that sort of candy theme. So there's not like a lot of fancy stuff going on in this bra. I just really wanted a simple one with this fabric that I absolutely love. I love the dotted material, and I do have a fair amount of this left over, so I might make some bottoms that go with it. I will say that bottoms aren't my favorite thing to make. So I do them more out of necessity than desire, which is why most of the time I make the bras and then I might make the bottoms months or years later. So that is this Pastel Mint Black Beauty bra. So next up, I have a sort of hack on the foam bralette from Bra2B. I have made this foam bralette a couple of times now. I'm quite liking it. It's a good, like for me, lounging bra. It's not necessarily something that I'm going to be wearing, you know, as a workhorse day-to-day bra, but there are definitely times of the month when I want like a softer bra. I might wear it to bed or during those times, or I might just wear this around the house lounging. So I made this one up using lace that I purchased from Libel Sewing. I purchased it a couple years ago. It may still be available, but I'm not sure about that. Again, I'll link at least the shop down in the description box below. So this top portion is the pattern itself, and I made it and I tried it on and I liked it. It was okay, but I felt like it needed something a little bit extra special. And so I had been watching on Instagram Annie and Myra. She was doing a set for her customer, and that had this little like skirt portion added, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And it was something that I added after the whole bra was complete. So I didn't necessarily put it on the way I would have had I had thought about it in the beginning of the bra making process, if that makes sense. So I had done the whole bra, so I just cut out this long strip of fabric, and then I laid it onto the bottom band elastic like this, right sides together, sewed it, and then flipped it down, and then sewed it again. So it's really close to the edge, like it's right on that like 1/8 inch, 1/4 of an inch end of the bottom band elastic. If I had thought about doing this from the beginning, I probably would have sewn these two pieces together before putting my bottom band elastic on, and that would have gotten a little bit cleaner of a finish, not so much stitching lines, but it works out in the end. And then in the back of the bra, I just left this open as a skirt. I did overcast the two edges of the lace, but it is still open in the back. And it was really, really interesting in Annie and Myra's Instagram story, because she talks about gathering up the fabric in the back to account for the amount of stretch in the back band so that you don't get sort of that pulling apart. Of course, I didn't do that. So when this is worn, this lace does pull apart a little bit like that, but I'm not overly concerned about it. It still lays pretty flat against the body. But it meant that I could still stick with this 3x3 hook and eye. I didn't have to use a longer one or anything like that. And I still got the look of sort of a long line bra. I do really like the way that this pattern is finished. So you just do stitch and flip on all of these seams, these 5 seams, and then you sort of just cover the edges, because you do have the scallop of the elastic running all the way along the back band inside and neckline area. So you just apply the elastic to the inside of it. It is lined with some stretch mesh in the bralette portion itself. The skirt is unlined, as I didn't think this would be taking on much force or anything like that, so I didn't need to worry about lining it. So quite happy how this turned out. I definitely think it has sort of a vintage feel to it. I think it would look really cute with a pair of tap pants. So I have some ideas for that coming up in the future. But yeah, I really like how it turned out. And I think adding that skirt, I'm calling it a skirt, whatever it is, that the extra length onto the bottom of the band really changes up the look of this pattern without having to require very much extra effort at all. So it's definitely something I would consider doing in the future. I do have a lot of stretch lace in my stash. I don't particularly love using stretch lace on wired bras. I never think it like looks the best. So I definitely have a lot of materials that I can use to make these bralettes in the future. So I can play around with some other design details and things like that. So the next project up is another one where the fabric came from Beware. This is one of her new items. Again, linked down in the description box below if you are interested in getting it. And so this is this multicolored bra tulle. I really, really loved this bra tulle. And so I was excited to work with it. I looked at doing 2 layers, which is typically how I would use bra tulle, is 1 layer with a stretch going vertically and 1 layer with a stretch going horizontally. That sort of cancels each other out, and then you get a pretty stable fabric. But because of the design on this, I didn't like the way that it looked doubled up. So I actually lined this in a non-stretch sheer cup lining. So I didn't really have to worry about the direction of stretch in my bra tulle, because I knew everything was going to be limited by that lining fabric, and it is just those 2 layers. So 1 layer bra tulle on the outside and sheer cup lining on the inside. So this one I've actually used a modified Angie pattern from Beware. So the Angie pattern is a vertical seam, and I think there's 4 cut pieces. I've just split one of my side cut pieces so that I could add in this like seamed in power bar, which is, I don't know, I just sort of like the look of that. And so I split that piece so I could add in the power bar, and then I moved my strap attachment over to that section instead of, I think normally the strap is attached between piece 3 and 4, so the strap attachment would be here. I don't particularly like that strap attachment point on me. It's much too far towards the center, but I have really broad shoulders, so a lot of people like it. It's just not for me. So I've paired this multicolored tulle with a couple of other colors. So I used this lavender fold-over elastic just along the top of the cup edge. I felt like lavender, even though it doesn't, I think these dots are just primary like pink or cyan, you know, cyan and yellow and magenta. But for some reason, the purple I thought really worked with it. And then for the back band, I've used Ariel colorway from Bra Builders. I do have a lot of this left over, so I just thought it would be fun to use up a lot of different materials, a lot of different colors. And then we have gray for the hook and eyes, and this sort of like, this might be pewter strapping from Bra Builders, which is a nice cool toned gray with a lot of blue hues in it. And then of course I used my rainbow rings and sliders, which I recently got. Really happy with these. I also saw that Ying at the TaylorMade shop is carrying those, or she was carrying them for a little while. They might be out of stock right now, but so I picked up another 4 sets from her, but absolutely loving these rainbow rings and sliders. Totally worth it, even though they're a little bit more expensive than the rings and sliders I typically buy. I just love how it captures all those cool colors, and I mean, there's so many ideas that I have for this. Different sets that I think it would work great with. So rainbow rings and sliders, and then on the inside I did like pink on the bottom. I did some lavender fog from Bra Makery up at the top, and I think this is also lavender fog underwire channeling here from the Bra Makery. So I kind of like using these multicolored fabrics because it means that I can use up all these like little odds and ends and bits and pieces of elastics in different colors, and it's not too incongruous. Like it definitely still works together, and nobody would say like, oh, that doesn't match, because it's got everything in it. So that is this really fun multicolored bra tulle. And the next bra that I have up is utilizing some lace that I purchased from Lily Pad Designs. Last time I checked, this lace was out of stock, but she might bring it back in, you never know. And so for this lace, I've actually paired it with Emerald Findings from Bra Builders. I thought Emerald was a pretty good match. I just was assuming that it would be, looking at on the computer screen, and in person, I think it is a pretty good match. It's slightly a different color, but not so much that it looks bad. And so for this one, I've used the Grace pattern from Annie and Myra's. I have been using this pattern a lot lately. I really like it. It's a 2-piece cup, but the Natalie hack, which lets you sort of use a lace or smaller section here, and then a more sheer section up top. I really like the look of that. It is full coverage, but I'm okay with that. It definitely has more of a vintage feel to it. So this is the Annie and Myra Grace bra, and I used the lace, and I tried really hard. I worked really hard on getting this scallop here looking nice and even, and I'm pretty happy with the results. Like, you can barely tell looking at the lace that there's a seam there, except when you come down into the bottom of the lace, it's a little bit more obvious that there's a seam. But I really tried to get that continuous look of the scallop across the top there. So very happy with how this one turned out. Like I said, they're Emerald Findings. So the lace came from Lily Pad Designs, and then everything else came from Bra Builders. So I used some sheer cup lining, some fold over elastics, underwire channeling, and this picot at the bottom all came from Bra Builders. The power net in the back here was something that I had dyed myself. I was trying to get a color, and so I was combining yellow and blue to sort of get this tealy color. It wasn't a great match, but it's okay because this is stretch lace. So on the outside, I just continued the stretch lace all the way across the back band. So you have firm, stable right here, and then stretchy once it gets into the back band. But on the outside, it looks all continuous across with lace. And so that's something I really love doing when I'm using stretch lace. I think it makes the outside look really good, and then you can do all that technical bit on the inside with stretch and stable. And you can sort of like move back and forth. So it didn't matter too much that this wasn't a great match color-wise, because it's not really visible from the outside of the bra. I do have a fair amount of this lace left over to make bottoms, but again, you know, who knows when I'm going to get around to that, maybe next month, maybe next year. But I would like to have some bottoms to go with it, just because this is a bra that I really enjoyed wearing, and I really like the color and stuff like that. And then the last two projects I have to share were part of the TaylorMade Collaboratory. So the TaylorMade Collaboratory is something that I've been involved with Ying at the TaylorMade shop, where she provides me products each month that I can make up and play around with. February is going to be the last month that I am involved with the TaylorMade Collaboratory, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and it definitely has allowed me to sort of like flex my muscles and, you know, not be as worried about making mistakes and just trying things that I want to try. So the first one that I have to share with you is this bustier using this really cool 3D lace. So it's 3D lace because all of these like leaves and flowers here you can see are not actually attached down. They're like free floating, and you can get up behind them. So for this, it took me a really long time to make this bra. So this one took me about 2 to 3 days, I think. And normally I can make a bra in an afternoon or a couple of hours. But this one took me a long time just because working with this lace was a little bit of a challenge. So one thing that I did is I sort of like pinned the leaves out of the way when I was seaming. So this is a darted one-piece cup because I wanted to have that continuous line up here and I didn't want too many seams to get in the way. So it's a darted one-piece cup. And then when I was sewing the dart in, I was pinning like all of these florals out of the way so that you could have the seam in there, and then once it was done they would overlap on top and it would sort of like disguise that seam. And that took a lot of extra time, but I definitely think it was worth doing. Again, this is a Longline Bra hack. I think this one started as a Black Beauty bra, if I had to guess, but you know, I've changed it so much, it's hardly the Black Beauty bra anymore. I did do a one-piece frame on the bottom just because I had a fair amount of that lace, and that lace is super wide. I want to say it's almost like 14 inches wide, so much wider than I thought it was going to be. So I extended this down longer than my normal pattern, so this one goes to my natural waist, which I find is a lot more comfortable. So I've just never had any lace wide enough that I could bring it down to my natural waist before, but it's definitely something that I would consider doing in the future because it definitely makes the bra more comfortable when it comes to my natural waist instead of sitting, you know, like up on my floating ribs section. And for this one, I wanted to do some sort of like strappy details up at the top here. I was really intrigued by this bra that I saw on Adore Me, and I can pop up a picture over on the side of the Adore Me bra. So that was the inspiration, though. When I went to do it in application, I sort of messed up a little and I only got 2 of the extra straps instead of the 4. I pinned in the other extra straps and it just felt like it was a little bit too much. So I left it with 2, but I still think it's quite effective. I really love how this looks. It does peek up a bit from my necklines of clothing. So it's, you know, you have to wear it confidently that, you know, it's supposed to be showing. So what I've done is I actually used a 3/4 inch strap elastic on the back, and it's got this wide 3/4 inch ring. But then when I come from here, I went to 1/2 inch strap elastic. That way it left me room on the ring to use the 1/2 inch strap elastic and then 2 of the fold over elastic straps that are attached there. So that actually worked out really well. I don't feel like I'm getting any crowding, and I think it looks pretty nice as a transition. And for these, like I said, they're just fold over elastic, folded in half, and then sewn with a zigzag stitch to make these sort of straps that go in there. So I left them stretchy, but you could certainly put some like twill tape in there if you wanted more stable straps. I personally like stretchy straps. I think it just sort of like curves over the body a little bit. Of course, we put them on with a little bit of negative ease, so it does like sort of stretch across the body and lay flat. So in order to do that, I attached them on the cups first and then put the bra on and figured out how long they needed to be on the ring, and just clipped them into place and then sewed them permanently. So this is the outside of the bra. This one, like I said, it goes all the way to my natural waist. So this one I actually ended up using a 10 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah, 10 row hook and eye. I buy this from Bra Builders. It's really nice because you can just buy however many rows you need, and then you finish up the top and bottom edges of it. And from the inside here, you can see I was kind of running out of flesh toned lining, so I used 2 different linings in here. I think it's okay. I used a sheer non-stretch sheer cup lining in the cups, and then I used some bra tulle along the bottom of the band. Against the skin, that color differentiation doesn't make too much of a difference. So again, this is just that same darted single piece cup, and then I finished the upper edge of this with fold over elastic because I didn't want any extra seams on the front part of the cup. So I wanted something that looks a little bit more disguised. And then where the straps are attached in here, it actually is sewn all the way through the lining into the outside of the lace, but I made sure that they were attaching where leaves were. So the black stitching on the black leaf means that it just doesn't show up here. Oh, here's a really fun part here on the center front bridge where I let that extra little piece of lace stick up above the bridge line instead of cutting it off, which is what I normally do with sewing. So just pinning that out of the way when I was sewing things together, and you get that leaf sticking up. So this one was a lot of fun. It took a couple days to make, but I'm really, really happy with the results, and I think it is a good sort of fantasy bra, and it's definitely something that I might not have got a chance to work on if I had not been involved with the TaylorMade Collaboratory. So the last bra that I made this month was again part of the TaylorMade Collaboratory. So this one is using the TaylorMade's Teal Bra tool. I could have sworn she had a cheetah print lace in her shop, but when I went to go look, I couldn't find it. So I kind of cheated on this one, and I ordered the cheetah print lace from Emerald Erin instead. Emerald Erin made a bra very similar to this a couple weeks ago as part of her Bra a Week challenge, and I just really loved the color combination, so I decided I needed to have a bra like this. So it is using the Black Beauty bra pattern. The upper cup has been modified slightly so that it instead of normally the upper cup goes all the way across here, I added that strap attachment, which brings it a little bit more center front, but it's still working out okay. And then I also changed the angle of where that top portion of the cup meets the bottom. So I took fabric away from the bottom cup piece and added it to the top cup piece in the drafting phase. That way I could get a more V-shaped neckline on this. So I made a bra that was quite similar to this with this sort of V-shaped bridge last year, and I can pop up a picture over here. So I kind of already knew what I was doing with this, but this one was a lot easier to construct just because I did the V in the lace overlay on the top, but then just kept my regular bridge piece in the tulle itself. So I have worn this bra once this month, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's super comfortable, and I could definitely see myself making more of these. I did put Bra Builder's flexi wires in here, which is why it's not sitting perfectly straight, but on the body it seems to like pull itself out into where it needs to be. So on the inside you can see everything here is lined with 2 layers of bra tulle and that really, really beautiful teal colorway, which is just lovely. And then I've done the back. It's my modified Black Beauty back with this sort of strap attachment, scoop neck, all that stuff like that. So yeah, really enjoyed this bra. I'm definitely going to be making more from this pattern because I think that the lace V on here is really, really effective and a nice way to show off some bra tulle without it being a solid bra tulle bra, if that makes sense. So I hope you guys have enjoyed a look at all of the things I've been making in the month of January, and I will see everyone next time. Take care.